What is it that makes a bad movie so good? The culture surrounding bad movies is kind of like one big inside joke. Not everyone gets to enjoy it, but those that get it, get it.
What a story, Mark.
Intentionally making a movie bad never has that same charm as a movie that was never meant to be bad, but through one means or another turns out that way. Many factors are considered. Awful script and acting, of course, but also things like phony effects or obvious stunt doubles, terrible camera work, or just bad pacing. There are quite a few cult classics that are generally just really bad movies, but perhaps one of the very best is arguably Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. The first movie is no masterpiece, and even when it was released in 1984, the Christmas horror genre was already oversaturated. Silly premise and awful acting, and guess what? You don't even need to watch that first one because the entire movie is recapped in the second one. A lot of times, sequels recap plot points found in the first entry, but I can't think of any sequel that crams the entire first entry into the movie. And, well, the first one being pulled from theaters due to controversy is partly to blame, but alas. So with Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, you'll get to enjoy all the mediocrity of the first one with the even more absurdity of what's going on in the second one's plot. Before memes were a common thing, YouTube was the highlight of internet hilarity. Never before had one place on the internet gathered all of the most absurd and obscure, now in full video format. YouTube Poop made for some great content, picking apart bad games and cartoons from our youth, but every once in a while a random scene taken from a TV show or movie would make its way onto YouTube and become a phenomenon. There's the from Troll 2. But also just as seemingly random was the June 2006 upload of
Garbage Day!
Taken from Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. Watching this scene, you would never guess it's from a movie about Santa Claus childhood trauma, but it was. It's where I first learned of the movie, and I'm sure thousands of other viewers too. And wouldn't you know it? That isn't even the worst line in the movie. Eventually the entire movie was uploaded onto YouTube, which is where I first watched it. The dialogue is what comes to mind when I first think of the movie, especially the main character, Ricky. Every line of his is said in such sarcastic tone.
No, I'm beginning to like this picture.
It's hilarious. The actor, Eric Freeman, apparently had no idea what kind of cult following the movie had until he was contacted much later in 2013 about the film. He hasn't done much other acting outside of this one, and the director hasn't done much either, other than the awfully hilarious martial arts movie, Street Soldiers.
Hey, old man! If I stick my foot up your ass, will you tell my fortune too?
Seriously, it could be just as so bad it's good as Silent Night, Deadly Night 2.
Where's my bitch? Where's my bitch?
Anyway, let's talk about the plot. Billy, his brother, witnessed their parents being killed by a psychotic man dressed as Santa. Ricky was still a baby, so I assume he learned all this from Billy at some point. Anyway, Billy and Ricky grow up in an orphanage run by nuns that abused them. The trauma Billy experienced as a kid, along with the abuse he suffered by the hands of the sisters, he grows up to be rather unstable.
Your brother's in that case, that's what's wrong. No, he's not! Take it back!
The freeze frame here, with Ricky's commentary, makes a scene that should be dramatic just really silly.
No one heard him screaming.
Christmas triggers bad memories, and thus his rampage begins. How Ricky knew of any of this is anyone's guess, but what do you expect? Some highlights from this recap is Billy chopping off the head of this little brat here. Anyway, Billy is eventually killed.
You're safe now. Santa Claus is gone.
And then we get Ricky's story. I should mention that during this time, Ricky is being interviewed by a psychiatrist who is actually intimidated by Ricky.
You're good, Doc. But I know all the moves. I could squash you like a bug.
Must be all those eyebrow movements. Seriously, every time he talks, his eyebrows jump around. Check out IMDb for an exact count. As Ricky is recapping the events in the first movie, he throws a few zingers here and there.
Really? Well, maybe we're just jerking off here then.
So now we get Ricky's story. Much like his brother, he gets a certain way when experiencing Christmas. His foster parents attempt to take care of him as much as possible, but as Ricky puts it, when his stepdad died, he took it pretty hard. So this hilariously bad actor is supposed to be Ricky at age 15. How he transformed this much in terms of looks in just a few years is astounding, to say the least.
I've never told anybody this before. Let it out. Here it comes.
So Ricky claims he gets pretty paranoid when everyone around him gets dead. His words, not mine.
You tend to get paranoid when everyone around you gets dead.
So this hilarious drunk slobs around with his girlfriend. Seriously, I've never seen such a bad throwaway character before. Ricky watches this like a creeper from afar, but then gets triggered. So I guess it isn't only Christmas, but the color red that triggers Ricky's deadly instinct.
Naughty.
So he gets in the car and runs the dude over, and his girlfriend is all like, thanks. Wow.
Red car. Good point.
This is a start to something though. Ricky punishes naughty people, though that gets thrown out the window soon enough. So now at 18, he gets a job as a dishwasher, kills another dude, and then the psychiatrist attempts to learn about Jennifer.
Then tell me about Jennifer.
Eat shit.
So Ricky and Jenny get acquainted, and she seemingly calms Ricky down a bit. But at one point they go to see a movie, and well, Ricky kills a guy for being annoying? I mean, it's suggested he killed him, but I'm not too sure. I should say that the first movie was pretty much half the running time here, yet the difference in directing and acting between that one and now Ricky's story is very, very obvious. The camera work is worse, the acting, well, yeah. But best of all is Ricky. Everything he does is so over the top, and the way he uses his voice to sound menacing, it's great. So now comes that infamous scene, Garbage Day. Ricky gets into an argument with Jennifer's ex, named Chip. Wonderful. He kills him, chokes Jennifer to death. He kills a cop, lets a girl live though, but then shoots some innocent suburbanites. And then, nice stunt double. There is something that makes this scene right here the worst in my opinion. Not only is the double so obviously not even close to the original actor, but the character is supposed to not fear this car coming at him, and yet with that one take they had, he actually moves away a bit. I know this scene was probably not supposed to have the car that close, but rather than save the shot and possibly be sideswiped by a car, this double actually inches away. So now, after killing a bunch of people, the cops arrive. But they actually plead with him not to pull the trigger. Why? Well, Ricky doesn't kill himself and ends up in the situation he is currently in. Now the movie has come full circle, but surprise, Ricky kills the psychiatrist. So now Ricky is out for revenge. That childhood trauma in Ricky's mind stems from the orphanage. So just like his older brother, he is set out to finish the job, and, well, Ricky actually does it. I can never tell what he shouts here. Moo, move. Ricky dies, the sister dies, but is Ricky really dead? Well, there is a third Silent Night, Deadly Night movie, and the Ricky character is alive in that one, though not played by the same actor. The movie isn't very self-aware. If you told me this was supposed to be a comedy horror a la Evil Dead 2 or Dead Alive, then I could possibly see why the movie turned out the way it did. But it wasn't proposed like that at all. According to Wikipedia, it's a black comedy, but I don't think that's very accurate. Even interviews with Eric Freeman sees things differently. Oftentimes, he calls the movie silly, yet never saying it was meant to be funny or bad on purpose. This isn't a trauma movie.
You can just call me Doc.
Fuck off, Doc.
Now, I've heard that Freeman was told to be over the top, but I really think the creators thought they had another slasher classic on their hands. Michael Myers or Jason, Ricky is not. Especially with that outfit. In a recent interview with Film Inquiry, Ricky actor Eric Freeman talks about hopefully filming a proper sequel. Actually, he wrote the script himself. I don't know if the film will ever be made, but Freeman makes it sound as if the movie will be less spectacle, as in unrealistic, and the sequel is going to be more or less a straight-up cat and mouse chase. I'm sure people are interested, and in a way I feel bad that he for years had been hounded. People tried finding him for so long, and he managed to hide well enough, but I guess eventually he had embraced the meme, as the kids say these days, and is even working on a sequel, so that's pretty cool. Is it the worst movie ever? Certainly not. I can't possibly say that any movie that keeps me interested and entertained, albeit for all the wrong reasons, is really a bad movie. I understand that the controversy of the first movie being pulled from theaters was part of the reason it had to be retold in this one. But without that knowledge, and without even knowing it was the first movie, it makes this one pretty decent. And the bits from the second one are way too funny not to at least laugh at. Personally speaking, I can only watch a few movies over and over again, and they are all usually quote-unquote bad movies. There's something special about a movie that doesn't get old. You see, a lot of movies can have very slow moments that, when I think about watching them again, I start to think, well, I don't really want to sit through that again. I think that's how people feel about this movie too. It goes from point A to B to C quickly, and with such over-the-top acting that it keeps you interested the entire time. A lot of these bad movies get a cult-like following, and well, when it comes to horror and Christmas, none of them are more of a cult classic than Silent Night, Deadly Night 2.
Sounded like some squirrel getting his nuts squeezed.
Rocco, let's talk.